All right, welcome in. This is a special recording here. It is the final Class B state tournament before they go to a three-class system. It's depending on who you ask. It's been a long time coming. Some people wish it stayed the same, but to kind of bring in this last state Class B state tournament, the crown jewel of North Dakota, I had to bring in a special guest. He runs Blast to the Past ND on Facebook, which is a very cool page. Cool to see the history of North Dakota athletics. It is Blair Backus out of Minot. Blair, how's it going?
Doing well, thank you.
Good, good. So, just a little bit. This is the first time we've talked here. I'm a huge fan of the page. I love looking at the history of North Dakota sports. So, what you're doing is incredible. I enjoy looking at past years, enjoy reading it. How did you come up with this idea to start it?
Well, back, of course, when COVID hit in the spring of 2020, there was, the cancellation of pretty much all sports nationwide, high school, college, pro. And I've always tinkered, not necessarily with the idea of doing what I'm doing right now, but I always wondered what happened to the people I played ball against. And when there was no sports, I actually called the local newspaper or not called them, but got a hold of one of the sports guys and told them about the idea of doing a "Where Are They Now" type thing, and they were kind of lukewarm on the idea. So I decided to just kind of do something on my own. And originally, it started off as my first 5 stories. I actually had a web page at the time, and I just it took me like 3 weeks to write each story, and I go, well, this is taking way too long. At that time, of course, all I had was friends following it. So then I decided to make shorter stories of individuals and try to get them up quicker. And then actually when I decided to put it on Facebook and Twitter, which I don't do much up with Twitter anymore, but and it's taken off from there. I was really hoping just to get, or hoping a couple hundred people would be interested in what I'm doing, and it's definitely grown. I'm actually before we just got on here, I looked on Facebook, and I'm 19 away from 9,000 followers, so it's really grown a lot, and I'm been very surprised and happy with how it's going.
Okay, that's pretty. Where did you play your high school ball at?
I'm from a small town of Glenburn, 20 miles north of Minot,
Okay,
so a 1981 graduate, so I'm old.
okay. Glenburn. What was their mascot?
Panthers.
Panthers. Okay. Who are they co-oping with now, or are they're still on their own?
They're still on their own. Yep.
Okay, I got you. And then so what were a couple of your first stories you did?
Well, my
Um,
very first one that, of course, you wouldn't find now on because they went to my website at the time. But Terry Jelmstead, I don't know if you ever heard that name, but Terry Jelmstead was from my hometown, but he actually started coaching in Stanley in the 70s, and then so he had a tie-in with Class A and Class B. Then he went to Minot High as a coach. Then he actually became the athletic director at Minot High. He was there for years. He was also a very, very good amateur athlete out of high school. He didn't play college ball, but he played amateur ball, and I know he won some state MVP trophies and stuff like that. So it was my tie-in to do Class A and Class B, so I could try to get followers from, people that follow Class A and people that follow Class B. My second one was on the 84, 85, and 84 and 85 Linton basketball teams. And then I did the 84, 85, 86, and 89 Linton or Newburgh teams. So I did a story on each of those, and then 2 individuals that I did, which I did incorporate into the Facebook later on, were a guy by the name of Matt Cluton, a 1992 graduate of Beulah, and Jeremy Valim, a 1993 graduate of Hettinger. And then everything since then has solely been on the Blast to the Past Facebook and or Twitter page.
okay, cool. Do you have any that do you have a favorite one that you've gotten to really dig deep into and that you really remember that was really yeah, if you had to label a favorite one, do you have a favorite story that you've done?
Oh, well, I would say my favorite story was probably the Newburgh team, which again was one of my third story I ever did. To me, the 1984 and 85 Newburgh teams, especially the 85 Newburgh team, was one of the best teams I had seen. And they basically all graduated after 85. They took second in 84 to Linton, second in 85 to Linton. They should have won in 85, or at least they were favored. They lost most of their players, and then in 1986, they come back with basically 5 new starters and win the state tournament. That was a neat story.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially in Class B. You're not gonna. Usually, there's that one class that everybody kind of invests into and think this is the one, and then they come up short, and then the next year they they find a way to get over that hump.
Especially in the small towns like Newburgh, which,
Yeah,
Newburgh, the town size itself, I don't think has 200 people. I don't think I had 200 people back then. They were mostly farm kids and stuff like that. And like you said, usually you get that group, and all of a sudden you're lucky to have that group there. And all of a sudden they all graduated, and the next group came right in. And yeah, to me, shocked at least our area around Minot.
yeah. Who did they beat in '86?
I believe Belfield, but I'm not certain.
Belfield. Okay, that actually sounds right. I feel like that was around that time where they were in Belfield had one of their better teams. 'Cause I think my dad's from
Yeah,
Richardson, and I know in '78 Belfield got second there as well. Um,
yeah.
on
And
two
It
of their
was
teams.
Belfield, by the way, in '86. I got up my book
Okay.
right in front of me. So
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And then yeah, well, and now Newburgh, they don't even have their own team. They co-op with West Hope still, I believe.
right,
Is
and
that
Newburgh is very tiny. I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, I'd just be guessing, but I would be guessing they get 6, 8 kids graduating a year, and that's it.
yeah? How big was your graduating class?
26 in my graduating class,
26. Okay.
and Glenburn I think now is right around that 20. I think they have about 80 kids in high school.
Okay. I got you. Okay. Yeah, you now did you get to go to any of the Region 6 games?
I went to the first round, and then after that I was sick, so I didn't go on the next 2
Oh,
nights. So
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
it looked
I
like
was
you had a good championship game for sure.
yeah, I watched it on. I don't know if you've heard of the PSP network, but I watched it
Yep.
on the PSP network, and yeah, that was really fun to watch. Except I was I was rooting for my Bishop Ryan because that's where my kids went to school at.
Oh, okay.
But it
I
was a
guess
fun
we do
game.
have Yeah, I guess we do have a bit of a rivalry then because I coach football at Trinity, so we've gotten to play. Are your kids still going there now?
No, I had one that graduated in 2008, which he was on the Ryan team 2006, 2007, 2008 against those good Dickinson Trinity teams.
Oh,
And
yep.
then my youngest son graduated in 2015, but he never made any state tournaments.
Okay, so he was about a couple of years then removed before when Ryan was that 18 when they lost on that last second
Yep,
shot to
yep,
Hillsborough?
yep. 2018. Yep. That was one
Okay.
of my memories that when you asked me about it, because I can tell you a little story on that one.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, in 2018, me and my brother and my father were down there, and my dad was a big Bishop Ryan fan. And we're watching the game, and I can't remember if it was a minute and a half or whatever. Ryan's down 12 points, and my dad goes, "Let's go. This game's over with." And so we just sat there and we go, "Let's just finish it out." Of course, Ryan made that comeback in the last minute and a half to tie it to go to overtime. And then, of course, the Hillsborough made that big shot at the buzzer overtime.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic game, but that was my memory. My dad going, "This game's over. Let's go." So
Yeah, well, good thing I guess in a sense you got to see a great finish. I remember I was actually in Minneapolis at the time. I was visiting one of my college roommates, and I knew they had it on, and I was watching the game in the bar, and I remember them hitting that shot, and then right after, because if you can see in the background, I'm a huge Michigan fan, and within like seconds, that shot happened, and then a couple seconds after that, Jordan Poole hit that shot to beat Houston at the buzzer, which was crazy sequence, and the timing was impeccable. But
as a big sports
um,
fan, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I guess that describes Class B basketball. What it means to people in this state is It doesn't really matter where you're at. If you're gonna be watching it, even if you're out of the state and you're probably in a place you probably don't really need to be on your phone, but you're at a bar watching it on your phone.
Mhm.
Um, do what did so now that this is the final one, what do you think of this new three class system?
Well, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been against it. I'm not saying I'm, gung ho for it necessarily, but I think it's a good thing to try. I mean, if it's 3 or 5 years from now, they go, well, this really isn't working, then they can always maybe go back. And I don't know, when there was a Class C, that only lasted 16 years from 1948 to 1963. There's just not that many teams anymore, other than the big class. There's, I think, only like 110 teams. Now you're going to take out another 24 or 32 out of that. And, I know a lot of the small Class B towns are really for it, which is fine and dandy. But if you look at this year's state tournament, could be argued, but your weakest three teams are the teams that will be Class B next year, or Class B next year. So the quality of the state tournament overall will not be as good. I really think the middle class will be, Class AA, or what is Class A now, is phenomenal to watch.
Yeah.
10 or 15 years ago, I didn't really care watching Class A. Now I was just riveted this last weekend to it. But I think that middle class will be very competitive and fun to watch. I don't doubt that Turtle Mountain, Devil's Lake, and Wahpeton, could, I won't say dominate, but, one of those three is going to be in the championship game, most years.
Yeah, and because the other schools that are moving down from Class A, you look at them and they don't scare. I mean, Wofford City, they were bad when they were in Class B before they jumped up. Valley City has been a doormat since Jeff Boschee was there left. Um, but like the schools you said, Devils Lake, Wahpeton, who actually have had relatively decent success. They've been to the state tournament a couple of times. Devils Lake has a younger Nelson, who's Grant's younger brother, and Grant will be in the NBA within the next couple of years. Um, and you're right too, though. Like this was the Class A tournament's been incredible, especially this last night's game. We're recording this on Sunday. It was an incredible game, like the athleticism and how just those Sem brothers are incredible. Same with that Kraft, who just hit anytime it seemed like North was going to pull away, Kraft would go hit a big shot. Did you probably one of the best Class A championship games I remember in quite a few years.
I thought it was phenomenal, though, especially Jeremiah Sam. I mean, both of them are very athletic, but I mean, how explosive he is, and he's so wiry, and he's thin, and he can slither right past people. And then if you give him any space at all, he gets in there and he gets up to that rim so fast you hardly even see him dunk the ball. You don't even see the ball go through the rim. He's so quick.
Yeah,
and then he can shoot too.
Yeah, yeah, and he looked very comfortable playing at the Shield Center where NDSU plays, and I know he already has an NDSU offer. So I guess if he sees this, that's kind of my pitch to him to go commit to NDSU.
I love when they stay in state, just because it, gives us people that are from North Dakota more interest to watch. I mean, I've always been an NDSU and a UND fan, especially when they have local North Dakota kids playing on the team. So I'd love to see a group of, the top, when we have top players like the Sams and Grant Nelsons and the Bowden Skunbergs, too bad like a Mason Walters, which he stayed at Jamestown, so I have nothing against that. But if they stay in, if we can get 3 or 4 North Dakota kids on every North Dakota college, that makes it more fun. You get more followers, more people going to the games. I think that's the part I enjoy. I love watching NDSU on TV because they have those 2 North Dakota kids on there right now.
Yeah, and they were the leaders of the team and would the main cogs of why they were able to make it to the Summit Championship. And then this is probably the most talent we've seen coming through North Dakota when you look at, Dissett from Minot, who's going to be playing at NDSU. Both Sems, I think, have NDSU offers. Claybo Fargo Davies, who is
He's going somewhere big, though, I bet.
I think so too. I think Minnesota's already they're interested in him, and I'm sure there's going to be a few more teams that are going to be trying to get in on the sweepstakes of him. I'm sure this will be a big summer for him as far as on the AAU circuit and things like that, to where he might be getting those bigger Power 5 offers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the family, his mom is 5'10" and his dad's 6'6", so you assume he's going to be, when he's done growing. I don't know what he was this year, if he was 6'2" or not, but he's going to be 6'6" or bigger. Well, once you get to 6'5" or bigger, and you're as talented and as athletic as he is, he's going to get offers from some Power 5 schools.
Yeah, and hopefully, who knows? Maybe he'll want to stay close.
Right, I would love to have him stay close.
And NDSU was his first offer. I don't know how much that means, but you hear guys talk about that. That first offer, it always means something to you because they were the ones that were interested in you first. So
yeah,
who knows? He's still got 2 years left. He's also a heck of a football player. I saw he got invited to Iowa State football camp this summer. So
yeah. He might be good at something. It depends on what his love is, and it looks like his love is basketball, but he might maybe love something else better. But, just to go back a little bit, NDSU, they had Dexter Werner and AJ Jacobson playing at the same time. I loved watching them. And, AJ, was a phenomenal high school player. He could have probably played above NDSU if he wanted to. He stayed, in North Dakota, stayed in Fargo. He's from Fargo. So maybe that gives, Fargo a chance with Mason to maybe he will stay in Fargo. Maybe he loves Fargo. And of course, the local people that have followed him in high school would follow him in college. They'll be able to follow him on TV if he goes to a major college, but that's still a little bit different.
Yeah, well, and I think having those local kids, it gets the fans interested, and hopefully we can start seeing more fans show up to the basketball games. Because when I was a student there, I don't think I missed a game. I always enjoy. I was a manager briefly for the basketball team as well, when it was Richmond's first year, and that was when they were playing at the Shields Arena when uh, the Shack was getting renovated or built. But it were what it was. I think I actually enjoyed it more than enjoyed watching the football team. But which is cool to see. I think you've seen it a few times where NDSU was able to get a big crowds in, but I would like to see it where it's continuously bringing in crowds and it's getting rowdy and that type of thing, where they could really utilize a home court advantage like they do with the Fargo Dome in football.
Right. I just think with basketball, of course, there's more games, so you're going to have less people interested going each time. Then I don't know about Fargo area, but the rest of North Dakota is big into high school basketball. So most people aren't going to spend 3, 4, or 5 nights a week watching basketball or going to a live basketball game. So I think that's part of it. And then the other entertainment that people like to go to, I think that's what hurts attendance in a lot of these colleges nowadays.
Yeah, for sure. And who knows? I think. Do you have a favorite college basketball team?
I don't really follow college or pro much, but if Minnesota Gophers are doing well, I'll follow them as much as I can. But no, I'm not a big college fan.
Okay, gotcha. So back to the 3-class system here is, I agree with you. This was of the proposals that have gone throughout the years. I think this is probably the best one that I've seen. But I think this middle class is going to be the most competitive. And these small schools that have been whining and begging and pleading for this 3-class system for however many years, where it's like, oh, well, if we just got to get rid of, and you being a Minot Ryan grad, so I'm sure you hear something similar. We just got to get rid of Minot Ryan. We got to get rid of Trinity. We're going to be fine. We're going to state. Well, most of these schools are so dysfunctional, and between co-op, school board, things like that, where it's like, you guys can't get out of your own way. You guys got to get out of your own way before you even think about it. I think now that this 3-class system is here, this is a great opportunity for those smaller schools to really do like a full self-analysis of themselves, look at themselves in the mirror, figure out, what they want their identity to be, how they want to establish a culture, and then make sure their programs are getting on board between AD, coach, administration, school board, things like that. I think if they're able to do that, I think those teams are going to be successful. And I think too, which I can almost guarantee is going to happen, is that that once this 3, 4, 5 years in, and those bigger schools in Class B are always there, people are going to start whining about that they need to move up based off talent.
I don't doubt that. I look at like Minot. Minot's a big Class B. I mean, they follow Class B close, but part of it is you got Des Lacs Burlington close to Minot. You got Ned Rose and South Prairie, and I don't know where they fall. I think they're very close to being into that middle class next year. If not in the next few years. Then of course Bishop Ryan. You got 4 schools that are Class B that next year will be Class A. So how many followers of Class B are they going to lose because they're going to follow that middle class closer than the B class?
And the other part.
Go ahead.
And the other part about it too is that the class, A and Class B, the state tournaments are on the same weekend. So are you going to get that turnout for the B like you're going to get now? And I understand that the attendance is kind of dropped for it, but I think with that third class, I still think you could see a significant drop off in attendance there as well.
I think so
being
too.
on the same weekend.
Yeah, I guess I haven't followed it close enough to realize that they're going to do how are they going to do that? They're going to do the Class A and Class B same weekend, and the girls one weekend and the boys the other, or what?
Yeah. So Class A and B girls is the same weekend. I think Class B girls is in Jamestown next year. Class A is Grand Forks, maybe. I don't know.
I haven't been following close enough yet.
Yeah, and then I know that middle class for boys is going to be at the Dome, and then I don't know where Class B is. I'm guessing maybe Minot or something, but that's part of it. And I was looking at like when they finally announced that this was official, that you could go and look down the regions of the Class B, and you can point out who's going to win almost instantly, just based off of enrollment and where they are now. And it's one of the bigger schools or one of the private schools. Because is Minot, Ryan, are they staying in? They're slotted for B, but I also heard they're going to be moving up.
I've heard both too, so I don't know.
Okay.
My thing is, or what I heard is they were at 94. Now this is all hearsay, but that they don't want to be forced to move up, but they kind of want to move up. So I really don't know what they want to do. But their enrollment, I heard, was at 94. And of course, for being in a Class AA town, if you're at 100 or more, you have to play the Class A. They were at 94. Now, I don't know what that means for next year, but I know it has to be determined by now because they got to start scheduling. But I haven't heard if they're going to be Class B or Class A next year.
Okay.
And they'll dominate. They'll dominate if they're a Class B. Not necessarily win it every year, but they'll be in it basically every year. I mean, they got some really good talent over the next 2 years coming up. So,
yeah. Well, and then down here in our region, it would be Bowman. They've got the Duffield twins, who are studs. I think both of them have over 1,000 points now. And they could very well go up and be competitive in that class with where Trinity is now, but they'll stay in B, and I'm sure they'll dominate it for the next couple of years. And after that, those schools I don't really see. Maybe a Mott in Grant County, but the other part too is I don't know if up there, have you heard of a lot of the co-ops dissolving at all?
no, the only one I heard was that Belfield Southheart might be dissolving.
Yep. And I've heard mixed, that I've heard the vote already happened that they aren't, but I don't think I've ever seen it announced in the paper or anything like that. But that's been the big one, that they're going to break up and go back to the Eagles and the Bantams.
Yeah. I've had somebody that a little bit in the know that said they've already voted on it, but I don't know that for a fact. But somebody that I believe has said that that's going to happen, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, and it sounds like Southard is okay where they'll be able to support their own team, but it sounds like Belfield might struggle. So
Yeah. Well, I heard it
yeah,
was South Hearts that wanted to split back up so they could stay in that lower class, but I
yeah,
don't know when
yeah, that too.
that decision had to be made by, so.
Yeah, well, because it won't happen. It'll next year they'll be in that middle class no matter what because when the three class system was voted upon, the deadline for or the cutoff for co-ops was already passed.
Oh,
So
okay.
it would be in the 24-25 years
Oh,
when they
okay.
would go back.
Yeah. Ideally, which I'm fine with doing it whatever year, but just to give people a little chance to get ready for it, they should have just postponed it 1 year. But I'm fine with it either way, personally. But
Yeah, it was this three class system. It was going to happen at some point or another. I don't think it doesn't do anybody any good to sit there and cry about it. It's just go. The teams that are going to embrace it are going to be the ones that are going to be successful, and the ones that complain about it are you'll probably see them at the bottom of the standings.
mm-hmm.
Um, now, now that I suppose now let's jump into the Class B, the final B preview in Bismarck, which all of the games are going to be on WDA. What do you think of how do you think WDAY does as coverage for these tournaments?
I think they do fine. I like for the Class A, they had the boys on the first round. They had boys on one channel, girls on the other. Of course, the visual of the one channel was pretty poor quality, but on the regular WDA channel, I thought they did a good job, and they Lynette Munn Johnson, I think she does a great job for the
Yep.
girls, and why can't I think of the one that does the guy's name?
Zach Dosh.
Yeah, Zach Dosh. He does a phenomenal job in the boys. I mean, he's very knowledgeable, and yeah, I like listening to him. So
Yeah, I liked it too. I like that they were I like that they when they got the contract to take over the state tournaments. I like that they went out and they got guys, former coaches, former players with experience to do the color commentary where on NBC, not going to say a bad word about John Cole um per se, but I didn't like that they would just bring in other sports anchors to kind of do the color where you didn't feel like you were getting the full knowledge of it where you can definitely tell like Lynette Mund and Zach when they're doing their breakdown, you can tell that they visit with the coaches and they do their own self scouting of what to of what's happening.
hmm well, of course, they probably have more chance to see tape nowadays than years ago. But yeah, they follow the game. They've seen either a lot or most of the players that are in these games and tournaments, and so they have knowledge of these teams and coaches.
Yep, yep. And what do you think of the location? Where I think Bismarck is the perfect spot. Minot's all right. I like Bismarck a little more because it's a little bit more centrally located, and it just seems like that's like the right spot to where it should be. Do you have
Well,
a preference of where it goes?
Bismarck has the best facility. I think Minot has the best following, but I think it's close as far as the following goes. Minot's facility now that I don't know if you know that they've changed that up and they've knocked out the walls of the second story so you can actually exit your seat and go
Yep.
up. That's really nice, but it's not the facility that the Bismarck Civic or what do they call it now? The event center in Bismarck is.
Events. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a toss up, but I think, they're both centrally located. I like Bismarck, city of Bismarck, and, a little bit more to do down there. But I think Minot does a great job of holding it. It's just the facility isn't as nice as the event center.
Yeah. And I mean there's plenty of good memories in both spots. I was in Minot in 17 when Henningsgaard hit that shot over four wins. Uh, I guess I have some couple of rough. I have a rough experience in Minot as well. My senior year when we made it to state and we lost to Lemoore in the first round when we felt like we were the best team in the state and should have won it, but we didn't. So I have a mix of both. And the I always enjoy just seeing the crowd completely filled up. Like the Fargo Dome, I wasn't a fan. The Alaris Center was the absolute worst place to ever host a state state basketball tournament. It's just way it's too awkwardly set up, and just a weird, just kind of weird how they set everything up, and you're just so far away from everything.
Right. The Bismarck has the best, well, I don't know if the right word is acoustics, where the noise stays in. The dome in Minot, unless you got a huge crowd, you can hear a pin drop. It seems like a lot of times. Where, like I said, at the Civic or Event Center in Bismarck, it's the atmosphere is top notch.
Yeah. So going into this tournament, do you have a favorite of who you think's going to be winning it all? Winning
Well,
it?
I haven't seen Central Cass on tape or anything, but I know they're supposed to be good. I've seen Shiloh play. I thought they looked phenomenal, but I see they lost a few games this year. I saw Beulah play. I think Jeremy Brandt does a phenomenal job with coaching them because I don't think they were supposed to be as good as they were this year. I've seen Thompson play against Bishop Ryan. I thought they looked good, but I thought Ryan was a better team. But I thought Ryan was one of the top teams. That they got beat by DLB. They, in my opinion, they played not to lose the last 3 minutes of the game against DLB. But DLB, they got a 6'9" kid, that Carson Yale, who's can't teach size. He's maybe not aggressive enough at times, but he could shoot outside. They got a kid by the name of what is the lefty? I can't. Darn it! I think names escaped me. I want to say Dylan Olson, but I don't think that's right. But they have a kid. He's a lefty, about 6'1", 6'2", quick. I think if he plays under poise and control, that he could be their MVP. So DLB and Thompson should be a really fun first round game. Powers Lake, I've seen them on TV and stuff, and they got a real good guard in that Tyson Ingot. But other than that, I feel like they're a little bit weak. I saw Medina Pingree Buchanan on the Beck network, and to me, they didn't look really, really strong. And then Warwick, I know nothing about it other than I had heard people talking about that next year was going to be their year. Well, they're making it this year, so I'm assuming they're a young and upcoming team. So,
yeah. So, I watched Shiloh their first game of the year when they played Trinity. Yeah, they're a tremendous team. They've got athletes all over the floor. I don't expect that first game to be much of a game. From what I've heard from Powers, like I got some friends that live up in that region 8, and they said that Powers Lake was by far and away the best team in their region, but there's nobody that's really good. That first game of the day, though, is that usually seems like where you see the upsets. Because I remember in 17 when Trinity lost to Ellendale on a buzzer beater, 13 when we lost to Lemoore, which it was different back then because in 13 that was the last year where they did region pairings. They didn't do the seeding, which I don't know why they didn't do that sooner, but I'm glad they finally switched that up and got that changed. Because I mean, there were so many times too throughout the Class B years where the state championship was that first night.
Yep, happened many years.
Because I know like Trinity, Mayport, CG, and I think it was 02. They were by far and away the two best teams that year. Trinity led most of the game, and then Mayport CG hit a 3-up with like a minute to go, and they were able to hold on to the lead. And then there were a couple other years. I'm trying to I think Linton Watford City, when Linton went undefeated, I think that was 2008.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I know in 97, which was the year Glenmern they got to the finals. Beulah played Mayport in the first round, and they were, I think, ranked number one and 2. 1981, which is way before your time, but of course that was the year I graduated. Newtown and Hillsborough played in the first round, and they had played in the championship game the year before. And of course, they were ranked 1 and 2, and they had to play the first round in 1981. So yeah, that's happened a few times throughout there. I'm sure there's many other examples, but those are the ones that come right to mind.
Okay, yeah, and that's crazy to think that was 10 years ago where they finally switched it up, so it's even a little bit harder. But yeah, those are, I guess you could say it's rare, but it's still unfortunate. You want the two best teams, but
Right. I mean,
I
they're
guess
not saying they couldn't get upset, but
and if you're a coach, I mean, the attitude you got to have is we're going to face them at some point. Might as well just get them out of the way right away.
right. Everybody wants to be in the championship round though, so they can be
Yeah,
on TV 3 days. So
yeah, and then yeah, I don't know anything about Medina, Pingree, Buchanan, except they upset the 1 seed Ellendale. Beulah, I watched them the whole regional tournament. I watched them when they came to Trinity. They defend the floor for 94 feet. They will make you defend, and they're they're not going anywhere either. They're a young team. I think they have 3 seniors, and really only one of them plays. The rest of them is a nucleus of sophomore, juniors. And the way they played in the regional is that they reminded me of that 2012 Beulah team that went on to win state, where they were just playing lockdown defense. They were playing some of the best basketball that you've seen, and the way the bracket sets up for them, they've already beaten Shiloh. So and with teams like 4 Winds gone, and then
Ryan gone.
Ellendale that was gone as well, Minot Ryan too. This tournament is as wide open as it's ever been, which for this being the last Class B tournament for the foreseeable future, you got to root for chaos, and hopefully it delivers where we have some really good semifinal and a championship game.
Oh, I think there's a good possibility of that. I mean, if the first round goes the way it is supposedly supposed to, you could have Thompson or DLB against against Central Cass. And like I said, I know nothing about Central Cass other than they have a Burr kid on the team. And then, of course, Shiloh and Beulah. I mean, if they pull their games out, I think that semifinal round could be really fun.
Yeah, and that semifinal night is always probably, I think, the funnest night of the tournament, because when you're in whether it's in Minot or Bismarck, Fargo, Grand Forks, there's just that kind of that nervous energy, that buzz that's going around, knowing that you're only one game away from playing for the state title.
Yeah, I think that's other than maybe the first round, it's the fun round. For the kids, it's okay. Well, we're going to be on TV both nights, so which I don't know how much they really truly think about that. I think they think about that, before the tournament and stuff like that. But do they think about that during the game? I don't think they think about that during the game. But I think it's the most relaxed round because they don't have to worry about the next day, other than, of course, they want to get to the championship game. But they're going to be there. They're going to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the state.
Yeah. The one bad part about that opening day is that, like, those first 2 afternoon games, everyone's still kind of getting into town, so that you don't get quite the turnout. It's more so just your fans, so it's not completely full, but there's definitely that sense of excitement, and usually the team that's able to kind of calm down and realize that it's okay. Yes, there's a lot more hype. Their stakes might be higher, but once the team kind of settles in and realizes that we just got to go play basketball, they're the team that's going to pull away or find a way to come out on top. Is kind of what I've seen.
I don't have any other topics.
No. All right. Well, so then I guess I got 2 more questions here.
Yep.
Now if you have to pick a winner, who do you think is holding up a trophy on Saturday?
Oh boy. Well, like I said, I know nothing about Central Cass. Well, I'd love to see DLB win. I think they could win, but they'd have to play 3 perfect games, and I don't think they can do that. But I'd probably right now, if I was a betting man, not knowing anything about Central Cass, I'll go with Beulah right now. How about you?
Yeah, yeah. It hurts me to say it, but I agree with you, Blair. I think it is Beulah. Just the way they can defend and just pester the daylights out of you. I don't think there's a team in the state that can play the type of defense that Beulah's playing right now. And I think they're playing the best out of anybody. I don't know a whole lot about those other teams, but I guess I'm just gonna go with what I know. And right now I think Beulah might is gonna be the one holding up a trophy.
Okay. Also, I did want to bring up one thing. Did you watch the girls' state A championship game?
Yep, I
Oh,
did.
wasn't that Jocelyn Schiller fun to watch?
Oh yeah.
Oh, she
Yep.
controls the game
That
like
and
no player I've ever seen.
yeah, and then same thing with the Nisley from Century too. She's a really good ball player. There's a reason she's going to Nebraska next year. And even like going the week before the Class B girls, that was an incredible championship game too.
Yeah,
The,
semifinals were good too.
yep, yeah, that DeConti Smith is a special player.
Oh,
She was a lot of fun to watch.
yeah. She wasn't all state last year. I don't wonder if was she hurt last year. I can't believe she
I,
wouldn't have made the all state team because she made it as a sophomore. But maybe
yeah,
people just didn't see enough of.
maybe I
Her.
don't know because I know she missed the state volleyball this year. They said because she had some heart
Yeah,
complications. But yeah, she was. It baffles me that nobody UND or NDSU didn't jump try to give her an offer to commit there because she's going down to Northern.
I think if she would have been 5'10" or taller, I think you would have seen her there. I think like somebody told me, and if girls are 5'10" or taller and they can do all that stuff, the bigger schools see them. If you're if you're a boy and you're 6'3", they're a dime a dozen. But if you're 6'5" or taller and can do everything, all those schools want you.
Yeah,
It's like she's in between size, and the tweeners are going to probably have to play Division 2 if they're really good, more than Division 1.
yeah. Well, Northern State got a good one, so
Yep.
hopefully she has a good career there. But last question before we get you out of here, Blair, is what is your top Class B or most memorable Class B moment?
Well, besides um, the one I told you about with my dad,
Yeah,
um, it was 1997 state tournament only because that was my hometown team, Glenmore, and got to the finals against, of course, Mayport's team that had both Claybos and
is
LeClaire,
that the is that
Kraft.
Mason Claybo's dad then?
Yep, yep.
Okay,
Yeah, so Darren Claybo. So they had Darren Claybo and
okay.
Chuck Claybo. Chuck was, I believe, a year younger, and they're brothers. And then they had um, what was his name? The LeClaire kid. He was, of course, they were all 6'6". Then they had Travis Kraft on that team, so they were just phenomenal, all 6'5". Um, they really didn't have much of a chance, but the Glenmore team had some really phenomenal players, but they were all they had one 6'5" kid, but they were all 6'1", 6'2", 5'10", but they could shoot lights out, and they were fun to watch. So because my small town team hardly ever goes to state, that's my most memorable tournament. I don't know that I have a most memorable game or something. I just don't recall right off the top of my head, other than the end of the Bishop Ryan um, Hillsboro game. That was fun. I mean, Hillsboro won overtime back-to-back years. That was incredible.
Yeah, yeah, because those that 17 game was,
Four
and we
wins.
touched on it earlier with Four Winds, where Four Winds was undefeated, the defending champions, and it felt like Four Winds was had a hold of it the entire game, but Hillsboro stuck around and then found a way to tie it, and then Henningsgaard hit that shot that I was sitting up on top on that. I think it was like on the south ledge in like the upper deck. We were in the standing room part of it, and I remember him coming around the screen and pulling up, and I looked over to my buddy. I'm like, "Game, swish," and then pandemonium.
Yeah, that was incredible shot. Well, both years were incredible. I mean, they were truly last second shots. I mean, when Ryan got beat by Hillsboro, it was
Yep.
Troff Group, and I can't remember for sure his name, but I mean, he was like the sixth man, and he wasn't even a starter, and he hits that 3-pointer at the buzzer. It was just incredible.
Yeah. And then I suppose mine would be the 2006 championship game in Bismarck with when Landon Smith hit the buzzer beater over Mayport CG, which one of the uglier games.
Yeah, 36-34 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And one of the main reasons why North Dakota needed a shot clock, but which came.
Yeah, I think just a year or two later, right? What year did it come?
It came in the 11-12 year. It was my junior year of high school, which is crazy that we have it and Minnesota still doesn't have a shot clock.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, that was the best thing that ever happened to Class A is when they went to the shot clock. Too bad Class B didn't go to it sooner.
Yeah, and Minnesota, I think they're getting it next year finally. But the amount of talent that state produces, and lately where they've been sending guys, they've had the top pick in the draft the last few years. It took them this long to finally get a shot clock. But yeah, him backing down in the post and question, are they going to call a timeout? No, they're going to go with it. I remember the announcer saying, because I didn't get to go to the game because there was a snowstorm, so they closed the interstate. And he hits that shot, and then I just remember just a big pile of people jumping on him, and that was probably my top memory. And I didn't get one my senior year because we didn't win. But
isn't it funny how our memories when we're kids are the most vivid?
Yep. So. Oh yeah. And I think I could go back quite a ways and name the state Class B champions for a while, but that might be a different podcast. But where can everybody find your stuff at, Blair?
Well, I put everything now on Blast of the Past ND on Facebook. You just come to it. If you follow the page, that's great. I'm at 8,991 followers or something like that. I'd love to get up to 10,000 by summer. Of course, in the summertime, I don't put up quite as much content, but I try to put up a couple stories or a couple segments a week, either on teams or players. I love to do 60s and 70s players. It doesn't quite get as much following. It seems like my sweet spot is the players from the 90s and maybe even the very early 2000s. That's where the people, remember the most. My following is that age 36 to 55 is my biggest age group, and looking at my numbers, 51% of my followers are female. So I love the females. When I first started this, it was going to be basically Class B. It was basically going to be boys, and then I incorporated the girls, and that's gone over really, really well. Now lately, I've incorporated doing lately, I guess probably over the last year, incorporating doing tournaments. Just tournament recaps, and those are going over really well. I'll put old pictures of coaches in there. Example, I didn't even know this, but I just did a 1976 state Class B girls tournament recap, and Newtown took second that year. Well, the Newtown coach was Greg Amundsen. I didn't know he coached in Newtown. They took second in state. I didn't either. It was like his fourth year of coaching or something like that. And I go, oh, wow, that was a guy that coached at Mandan all those years and had all those championships. And he's originally from Minot, but it was kind of neat to see that. So I learn something new every time I do one of these stories. So.
Yeah. Do you have a top project or a dream project that you want to really dive into and do showcase, or is everyone kind of in the moment your favorite one you're doing?
Yeah. It's kind of funny when I started doing this, I do 90 to 95% of my individual segments are all state players, but once in a while I'll just pick somebody throw out a name that either had really good stats or weren't all state, because there's a lot of great players out there that just weren't recognized as all state because maybe they didn't play on a great team. But when I first started doing girls, I had never personally heard the name because I didn't follow Class A back in the early 90s. Was Paula Suda, and then I did Alana Meyer from Grafton. They were both back-to-back all-state, two-time all-state players in Class A. I had never heard their names. So it was fun to take a name I'd never heard of, research them a little bit, and find out, wow, that was neat. And I had a lot of fun doing the ones where I didn't know who the player was beforehand.
Okay, yeah, that is cool. I definitely go check them out, follow them, get them to 10,000 before the summer. And Blair, this was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Well, I appreciate it, Dylan. I'm going to have to follow your podcast. I had never heard about this podcast, but I will follow it myself.
All righty, I appreciate that. We'll talk soon, Blair.
All
Thank
right,
you.
You bet. You take care. Bye bye.